everyone, it's the Car Chick. And today on Shut Up and Drive, we're going to talk about bad driving positions. I was going to a lunch meeting today, and the guy behind me, check this guy out, on I-485 is driving at 60 miles an hour while hugging his steering wheel. He literally has his steering wheel in a bear hug. Now, I love my car. Anybody who knows me knows that I love my little Mini Cooper, Maggie. But I draw the line at hugging the steering wheel as I'm driving down the road. So that got me thinking about all the other really bad driving positions that I see other drivers doing while they're driving on the road. So let's go through these one at a time. Number one, I like to call this one, I'm too cool to drive safely. You know the guy, and it's usually a guy. Sometimes it's a woman, but it's usually a guy. He's driving down the road. He's got one arm just kind of lazy, resting on top of the steering wheel. He's not even holding the steering wheel. The arm is just kind of resting there, and he's leaning back in his seat, kind of lounging to the side. Yeah, that's a great position for sitting on your couch with a beer and the remote control watching the game on Saturday afternoon. But while driving, come on. Number two, I like to call this one the little old lady. She's got her hands on the very top of the steering wheel right next to each other in a death grip, and she's driving like this. And it's usually not a little old lady who's doing this. It's usually a younger person. And I found that that tends to be indicative of a more timid driver, someone who doesn't feel comfortable on the road. And, okay, I get it. It's kind of scary out there with all the crazy people and, the guy driving like this. So, but being like this up on your steering wheel with both hands on top of it together, again, that's not safe. So if you find yourself doing that and you realize it's because you're nervous driving, I would strongly recommend investing in some additional driving lessons so that you can get your skills and your confidence level up and you don't feel like you have to assume this like chipmunk position while you're driving. Number three, and I like to call this, I am entirely too tired and bored to even be bothered with this. The person who's got their hand down here, just one hand gently resting on the very bottom of the steering wheel. Okay, at least they're holding on to the wheel, unlike this guy, but still, you don't have any control of the car down here. And if you're that tired or you're that bored with driving, you know what? Call an Uber or find the local public transportation, but get off the road because you shouldn't be driving. So let's talk about what should you do? What is the proper driving position? Now, anyone who is probably older than 20, 25 years old remembers that we were taught in driver's ed the whole 10 and 2 position. Well, here's what's wrong with 10 and 2, and they don't teach that anymore. It's never been the correct position because you don't have car control, but nowadays it's dangerous because if your hands are up here in 10 and 2, then if you get into an accident and the airbag deploys, the airbag is going to scrape the insides of your hands or possibly break your arms because your arms are in the way of the airbag deploying. So what is taught now, and what we have always taught in the driver's education events at the racetrack, in the Teen Driving Solutions School, the best and only position to drive in is 9 and 3. For several reasons. I've already talked about the airbag. If you are driving in the 9 and 3 position, and you should have your hands nice and relaxed, you shouldn't have any tension in your neck or shoulders, just relax your arms. You should move your seat forward, put the seat in an upright position because we're driving like adults here, not lounging on the couch. And you should take your thumbs and just hook them over the steering wheel, here kind of where your steering wheel controls are. If you've got the audio controls on your steering wheel, you just kind of hook your thumbs in there and grab the wheel. That is the proper 9 and 3 position. And what that does is it keeps your arms out of the way of the airbag if you're in an airbag deployment situation. It also helps you to relax. It keeps all the tension out of your neck and shoulders so you're less likely to experience fatigue on a longer drive. We don't need any more tension while we're driving as it is. But most importantly, it gives you maximum control over the steering wheel and the car. You know that I will preach that safe driving is, number one, about paying attention to what's going on around you, minimizing the distractions, actively engaging in your driving. But the number two most important safe driving skill is car control. And you cannot control the car if you are not holding onto the steering wheel. You know, if you're up here, you're not controlling the car. If you're up here with two hands or one hand on the top of the steering wheel, you're not controlling the car. If it's down here and you're being lazy, you're not controlling the car. You may think, I got plenty of control of the car. Well, let's talk about what happens in an emergency situation. When you are driving, let's say you're going down the freeway at 60 miles an hour. When you are driving at 60 miles an hour, your car is covering 88 feet per second. If you don't believe me, do the math. You are covering 88 feet in 1 second. That's like a third of a distance, length of a football field. It takes Cam Newton longer than that to throw a touchdown pass. So you are covering a great distance. And when you get into an emergency situation on the road, you're driving along, la-di-da, listen to the radio, and, the shit hits the fan in front of you. Somebody does something stupid. And you have to take evasive action to avoid getting into a crash. Several things happen. First, your eyes, and your brain have to notice the crap that is happening in front of you. And it takes you a second because your first reaction is, and your brain has to kind of get over that initial shock. And then it has to process what happened, what is the situation around me, and what do I do about it? So the time that it takes between when your eyes see what happens, your brain registers and processes what happens, and you actually make the decision of how to react and then physically do react, that takes time. It may only take a fraction of a second. It may take longer depending on your driving skill and if you're used to handling these situations and you know automatically what to do. As a race car driver, we get in these situations all the time, so our reactions are very quick because we just have a lot of practice at it. But the average person on the road doesn't have as much experience with these situations, so it takes a little longer. Now imagine if your body is in some weird, lazy or bad driving position. Now you have to take the extra half a second to pull yourself into a proper driving position to control the steering wheel before you react. Well, if that takes, let's say, half a second, you have now moved your car 44 more feet down the road, and you are probably already in the middle of the cluster that you're trying to avoid. This is why we preach and preach and preach the 9 and 3 position. It gives you maximum car control, and you're already in a position to react if you have to. It is the safest driving position. It is what we teach at the racetrack. It is what we teach in the Teen Driving Solutions School, and it is what the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration currently recommends. So if you are guilty of the too cool to drive, the little old lady driving, or the too tired or lazy to drive, or any other driving position, if you change nothing else about your driving, please go to the 9 and 3 position. It will dramatically improve your driving skill and significantly reduce your chance of getting into an accident. And definitely don't hug your steering wheel. If you love your car, wait till you get home and give it a hug. Thanks so much for listening, folks. Drive safely. I'm out of here.